On this podcast, we talk about a lot of different things. We talk about challenging things, fun things, and a lot of times we like to bring really cool people onto the podcast to tell us about some really, some would say, crazy things that go on out there that really challenge us and test our limits. And today, we're going to have a special guest on, and as always, we got Jed Blackwell over there, the brains behind the podcast, and Coach Katie Malone. Why don't you tell us a little, because when you were talking about this before, you were talking about these things like they were so much fun. And some of these things, when you really hear about what it is like, oh, I don't know if I imagine that being like extremely painful and challenging and making us do, but what's the name of this podcast? Do Hard Things Today. So we like doing these hard things. So why don't you tell us about what this whole winter challenge is, where it came from, and talk to us and introduce our special guest.
Okay. So what I want to do is I want to kind of set the scene for this race. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this race on the podcast is because it is one of my favorite race experiences of all time. And I've done all sorts of races all over the place. This race, it happens in South Carolina, like in the middle of nowhere on a private farm that is just the experience. Like when you drive in, you're like, oh, I'm lost. I'm probably going to get shot. Like there's nothing out there. I mean, you just see like a little sign on the side of the road and you turn down this driveway and it opens up into the coolest place ever. And so the name of the race is called the Winter Challenge. And the Winter Challenge, their tagline is because life isn't always easy.
Ooh,
and
I like that.
I know. Isn't it great? Well, so before I get like too far down this rabbit hole though, we have Michael Williams, who is one of the founders of the race. It's his family's farm where they put this race on. And he can tell us a little bit about how it came to be, but I believe there was like some family competition or something going on here. And I mean, for years, some of the brothers and family kind of all, they would race against each other and, you know, racing for that glory of who beat their cousin kind of thing. But they opened it up to everybody, and it's been going on since 2004, I believe. And I had kind of heard about it for a couple of years. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. But in this race, you have to kayak. And I was like, oh, I don't know about the kayaking. But I tell everybody, if you don't do the kayaking, where's the challenge? You know? So the race consists of a 7-mile trail run,
Okay.
then a 6-mile kayak through a swamp on their property. So cool. Actually, it's pondy swamp.
So you're not in a kayak like most of us have been in, just like floating down a river.
No, there is no floating. You are paddling, and there is technique to this. And then there's a 10-mile mountain bike all on their property. I mean, it is beautiful. And they have all these motivational signs all over the place. And they have these kind of like old hunting shacks that are all decorated up with flags. They have camping the night before. They have big bonfire. They have awesome food after the race.
Do you run into like a random banjo player out?
They don't. But, you know, now that Michael's on here and hearing that, he might make that happen.
Do you hear that? Ding, ding, ding,
I think he could make that happen. Yeah. Okay, so before I keep going with this, let's introduce Michael Williams, one of the founders, one of the Brohams. So we have the Brohams. They're two brothers, Chris and Michael, and the famous, they call him Old Man, their father, who allows all of us to come and enjoy his farm. So Michael, thank you for taking time to be on with us today. What can you tell us about the history of this Winter Challenge race?
So can y'all hear me all right now?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yeah. So thanks for the introduction, Katie Malone. So I think it must have been 2003 when it started, because I believe we are in our 21st year. And yeah, it started out, it was Broham number 1, as I like to refer to him, my brother Chris. He just, I doubt he had ever even run a triathlon. He just said, hey, I'm going to start putting on a race over at the farm. And I thought he was completely out of his mind. And so I think I was barely involved. I might have run the first one or two, but so it just started off with a couple dozen people, and it was there wasn't professional timing or anything like that. And like you said, it kind of started off as just a very core family plus friends type of thing. But I mean, it was a legit race, in terms of like people were out there busting their butts. And so 7 mile trail run, 6 mile kayak, 10 mile mountain bike. And like you said, the kayak is like, are you out of your mind? Like, you want to kayak? You want to have people race kayak? Because the pond, which is 80 acres, is, as you said, there's once you get up in the head of the pond, it's pretty swampy. But there's a good enough open part where you can have some of those really nice long sea kayaks that you get into. And I gotta give her a shout out here, Katie Malone. Men or women, there are not many people who could beat Katie Malone in the kayak. It's pretty intense. So
she's over there smiling, acting like, I mean, she's so cool over there. She's so happy you said that.
No, I had to learn to kayak. I came the first time I showed up there. I was like in a sit on top, and I learned really quick that was not the boat for that race.
Oh, no. And people ask if they can bring stand-up paddle boards, and I'm like, no, absolutely not. There's so many logs and stumps, and like that's part of the fun is you got to get through all of these obstacles. So anyway,
fun and misery and challenge.
Oh gosh, and if there's a wind, forget it. I mean, if the wind is blowing, it is just pure racing bliss. It is not misery, it is racing bliss.
Yes, racing bliss.
As we all know, you're not out there for it to be easy. And as the old man every year likes to say, we don't call it the Winter Challenge for nothing. Otherwise we'd call it, walk in the park. And
so we got to hear keep going, but I want to come back and I want to hear more about this old man. I love when people talk about people like that, like there's like the old man. I want to hear more about him as well. But keep on going. But I want you to come back to that and tell us about him.
A little bit about the start. Well, but Dad was a huge part of the start too, because so the farm. Dad started putting it together back in the 1960s, and it's now around 2,400 acres. And there's no real farming. It's just trees, trees and river and pond and deer and wild hogs and alligators. Speaking of the wild hogs and deer and alligators, I regularly see alligators in the pond on the day of the race. We
don't fall in.
People don't fall in.
You do not want to be swimming in there. You do not want to swim in there.
You don't. I think the only people who ever really swim in the pond are Dad, Chris, Joel, and me. Like the brothers and Dad, we are the only ones who ever actually get in the water. Not because we are friendly with the alligators, just it's almost going back to that family competition. It's kind of like, yeah, I'm not going to let my brothers know that I'm, scared to get in here. Yeah, sure. I'll go clean out the spillway. I got this. Hold my beer.
Kevin is intrigued. I think Kevin might sign up.
Oh, you got to come down. Well, so going back to the start and Dad and everything else. So Dad put together the farm, 2,400 acres over, 40 something, 50 years. And, but he was super skeptical about this whole race at the beginning. And I mean, you could just tell, like, y'all need to do a better job picking up the trash and taking care of the place. And otherwise, we're just not going to have it anymore. And, but at this point, like literally, we keep hosting it because Dad loves it so much.
And he's always out there in his 4-wheeler, and he always cheers for me. He's like, oh, you're behind, or oh, come on, Katie. He always, like, he is my biggest fan. And one year I even wrote him a note afterwards because, like, I appreciate it so much.
Well, but yeah, I mean, at this point, he loves this race as much as anybody. It only took about 20 years for him to come around. But once he came around, I mean, he's just all in. And no joke, from almost day one, there are 17 miles of trails on land. And I'd say that Dad regularly clears 90% of them. He's 82 years old, and he's out there, swinging an axe and riding a tractor in the middle of the woods to make sure that this whole thing goes off without a hitch. And Dad also likes to throw in, some randomness. And I'm like, Dad, I don't think that's quite safe, And so we have a little bit of negotiation over, okay, we may need to remove, the the tiger trap.
No, I think a couple years ago he left like some low trees that we had to go under on the bike.
Oh yeah.
That was challenging. Yeah.
And it's classic Dad. He's just like, we don't call it the winter challenge for nothing, otherwise we call it a walk in the park. And again, that's just how Dad sees the whole thing.
He sounds like my kind of guy.
Oh, you gotta love their dad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's the best part of the whole race. But so anyway, so going back, so we got the run, the kayak, and the bike, and but it all is kind of headquartered around a couple of 150-year-old hunting cabins that we have on the pond. And one of them was, I think, my great grandfather's from late 1800s, from before there were gas stations. But Dad had them picked up and moved over and rehabbed into these buildings that are kind of central to our family and here at the farm. But so anyway, so that's where everything happens. So we decorate those all up and clear a field so everybody can camp. And I mean, we must have 75, 100 people camp the night before the race regularly. And then I'd say half of them spend the night after the race. And, there are no showers, there are no facilities for everybody. They're just camping, like rough camping.
Hold on. You do have outhouses. You do have outhouses.
I mean, we do have outhouses, yes, but no showers.
For the race.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
You got a pond.
You do have a pond.
Yes, you do have a pond.
I usually bring a jug of water.
Yeah, and that's what most people do. And we got plumbing in the cabins, but you can't put 200 people, into a couple of rustic old cabins. So, but then after the race, we have the last 10 years, we've got another family that comes over and they cook a pig, and we do everything to go with the sides and everything. And we barely charge people. If you race, you eat for free. And I think, anybody else is just a handful of dollars. But anyway, so it's fresh cooked pig right here on site. So as you're racing, as you're running by the cabins, you're smelling pig that's been cooking since 10 o'clock the night before. And so you got that to look
makes it worse.
Yeah.
But it's funny because Katie can attest to this. Is early days, most of the people running it were either new to triathlon or just kind of doing it as a lark. But I mentioned to Katie yesterday, I remember one year I counted up, we had people coming in from 15 different states. We've had people come in from California. I think we had somebody come in from Alaska. Last year we had somebody come in from Maine. And they just drive, they didn't drive from Alaska, but, people regularly drive from just all over. So pull heavy from the southeast, and people roll up with teardrop trailers and stay for 2 or 3 days. And we charge a little bit for camping, but it's just to help with cleanup and pay for a few things. But we're not doing this to make money. We're doing this just because it's a weekend long party. And Katie, I hate to tell this on myself, but sometimes I stay under control, sometimes I'm not completely under control. Everything is always safe, but it is as much a party as it is a race. And I'm certain that Katie can back me up on that.
It's fun. It's fun. It is always fun. It's always different. It is truly an experience. And that's really why I wanted to kind of share a little bit about this with all of our listeners, because it's just something that is so special. And I can't wait to be back there this year. I missed it last year, but
there should be a documentary on this.
Yeah, all I can think of is how awesome
buckles do you have, Katie?
Excuse me?
How many belt buckles do you have? The winners get belt buckles.
I have a lot of belt buckles, and I like have some nice. I over the years. Well, one year you made me a belt. You made me actual leather belt one year.
That's right.
That might be one of the best awards I have, is the leather belt to go with the belt buckle. But I have a few. I have some different color ones. But
Katie
they're
is our
awesome.
all-time women's champion by miles and miles.
No, I have been beat, and I have been beat badly. And so I never come there expecting to win, because you never know who's going to show up. I mean, that world champion paddler showed up last year, and or 2 years ago, and she got me.
Well, that's what I was going to ask.
Alessia?
It sounds like you probably, there's probably a vast array of abilities that show up for this thing, I would imagine. Is that correct, that you have people that are just like elite?
Yeah, so glad you said that, because you're so right. We have regularly, there are generally a handful of folks who have been doing it for 20 years. There are quite a number of people who've done it. I think there are only one or two people who've done it either every single year or, missed a year. But then there's always brand new to the sport people who've never run a 5K. I mean, they are people who come out who are just like, what the hell is this? But somebody told me I had to do it, so here I am. And then you got top of class athletes like Katie Malone or John Wellens or Dwight Schuler for a while there. We got people who come out and just kill it. Whether on the bike, Tyler Hawes, he was a great one. So my cousin, Chuck, who, I guess I should probably say that I did beat him in an Ironman triathlon. So I just want to put that out there.
Okay. This is where that whole family rivalry comes in. So Chuck and Chris and Michael.
Well, Chuck talks a lot of crap. That's the issue. Chuck talks a lot of trash. But please go ahead.
But you're the one with the microphone right now, so you say whatever you want to say.
Exactly.
This is true. This is true. No, so and I mean, it's just always been kind of fun to watch, like, you guys with Chuck, and some years Chuck always comes out there and says, "Oh, I'm not in shape. I haven't been training," and then he'll win, and I'm like,
Yes.
Okay, Chuck, you're lying. But it makes it fun, because you have this cast of characters who show up to this race on a regular basis. But I do also have to mention there is a dual-a-thon.
That's right, the dual-a-thon.
The dual-a-thon. I like to forget it, because I think everybody should get their butts in a kayak. But the dual-a-thon, it's a duathlon where you just run, bike, run. It's for the people who, don't want to get in a kayak.
Exactly.
So that is an option. Kevin's shaking his head. He can't imagine how somebody wouldn't want to get in a kayak.
Well, no, I can imagine exactly why they wouldn't want to get in a kayak.
Alligators.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
if you're heading out to a place like this, why would you not? You can at least tell the story of, hey, look, I'm kayaking around and I was kayaking through. There were alligators snapping at me the entire time.
I've never seen a gator out there.
I'm not saying they would, but that's the story I would tell if I did it. And so it seems like you wouldn't want to go and just do
and miss out.
You got to go do the kayaking. It really is the best part. Now, I have, during the kayak portions, I have seen people fall in every year. Somebody's in the water. I have never heard so many people cursing, mumbling under their breath, people paddling with their paddles backwards in the water. Now, if that doesn't mean something to you, that's because you haven't paddled a lot. But it's kind of like putting your bike helmet on backwards and going out and riding your bike. It's the same thing. And but it's, like, if I come up on one of those people, I'm like, hey, by the way, you might want to turn your paddle around. It'll work a little better. Oh, thanks.
So let's put this in perspective. So 6 miles on a kayak.
Yeah.
So, you can, if you're a triathlete, you put into terms, how does biking equate to running? If you're out on a regular road, if you run, you might go 3 miles for every mile that you run on a bike. Let's put into some kind of context what 6 miles of kayaking is. What does that equate? And I know that's hard to do, but I can't imagine. I've been on a kayak coming down a river before, but just out paddling around. Like I've been at Boy Scout camp or something, out on a kayak in just a docile lake. It's pretty tough.
Katie Malone, you can do it in what, 40 minutes?
No, it's about, I would say it's close to an hour. You know, it depends on what the conditions are, but like about an hour running for 7 miles, about an hour in the boat, and about.
So you can kayak 6 miles in an hour.
Yeah.
I would have thought. Yeah, I would have thought it would have. I would have thought it meant.
But I mean, that's in a long boat.
Yeah, let me put it this way. You know, you think about, and I don't know how much y'all normally talk triathlon or whether y'all talk disparate topics, but you know, I think of it a lot like the swim in an Ironman.
Yes.
Is you got people who are going to go out there and do it in 50 minutes, but then you're also going to have people that are going to do it in 2 hours. And it literally is about like a 2.4 mile swim. I mean, I remember what I did. I think when I swam Wisconsin, it was like 105 or 106, something like that.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear because I am
the world's greatest swimmer.
World's greatest swimmer.
I'm in the presence of the world's greatest swimmer and the world's greatest kayaker is what you're expecting me to believe.
Well, I think, I guess so. Katie Malone sounds like she's a legend at this place.
Oh, Katie Malone absolutely is. But funny enough, I never run the race. Like I've done it maybe 3 times over 20 something years because I'm the race director. And so that's how I got into this in the first place so Broham number 1 was race director, but he was also running the race the first couple of years. And he was just so intent on doing better in the race. I was like, well, somebody's got to stay back and, make sure everybody's safe and, make sure nobody gets lost and get food cooked and everything else. I said, tell you what, I'll help. I'll do the race directing. You go out there and focus on, doing well in the race. And so that's how I got sucked in. And so then the next thing I got a little bit of a marketing background. So, kind of organized everything, built the website, built all the backbone to it. And
the motivational signs.
Yeah, that's right. The motivational signs are pretty great. I will say about the banjo comment earlier is, so we've got a real good friend and he's a bit of a northerner. And he just thought it was hilarious he homemade a bunch of signs. And I'm going to say this, and I did not take any offense to the banjo comment because I get it every single year. It's totally true. We are in the absolute sticks out here. But Tom Wiltberger brings down a bunch of signs that are like, run faster, the banjos are catching up to you or something like that, or, like redneck run. And, but they were, in his mind, they were hilarious. In his mind, he was like, oh, I'm just, leaning into the, how in the sticks we are. And we were like, yeah, that's not quite on brand. That's not what this is. And so just had to very, very politely say, yeah, don't put those out again. Because we're not a bunch of rednecks. We're in the middle of the country, but if you're from the country, and I can, you got enough of an accent where I'm guessing you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
You got to be careful who you call a redneck.
Yep.
And yeah, we're not that. We lean heavily on how rustic it is and how rugged it is and all of that stuff. But it was just like, yeah, damn northerner, watch your mouth. And no, but Tom's great. But so then it was after that I was like, okay, it was filling the void. It was something that was clever. Great idea, bad execution. So I went out and I found some great quotes from my favorite bike series, the Sufferfest videos, and use that as kind of the basis. And so we put signs out all on the trails, and it's kind of like you see one and it's like a little magic button, like gives you a little boost of energy. And
they are great. They are very motivational.
I'm looking at your Instagram account now, and I'm looking at the barbecue, and it's motivational too. I'm wondering if you need any help with that.
Oh, come on, man!
Wow,
it's so good.
Come on down.
it's a family, a bunch of friends of ours, and they've been doing it for years for us. But they raise the pig, they slaughter the pig, and they scald the pig, and they bring it over and they cook it later on that day.
Sweet.
It's all as fresh as it could possibly be. It is old school South Carolina barbecue.
It is part of the experience. I mean, this race is just like nothing else I have ever seen anywhere. And I really feel like if you are fit enough to do it, it is something you should do at least once. And, Kevin, really this year, I think you'll have the fitness to participate and that you should check it out.
When is this?
It's on February 24th, I think.
That's it. Yep. I think that's it. And, one quick note on that is, early on, one of the things that caused me to fall so in love with it is that I don't get to see you but once a year. And you weren't here last year. So,
I saw you twice last year. No, I saw you last year.
Okay. But I guess what I'm saying is you said you had missed last year.
I did, but I saw you because I came to your house in Charleston.
Ah, that's right. Of course. Anyway, I just meant to say that these are people that I don't get to see but once a year. And then I see them on race day and they're rolling up and they got these huge smiles on their faces and they're pulling their kayaks and everybody knows everybody.
Yep.
And it's just amazing because we have built this tribe of people coming to this race from so far away and it's on everybody's calendar. Like they know they're running it next year. They know they are coming out here to do it. And they're just so excited because it's like coming back to a family reunion. It is. I think that's the most amazing part to me is just all of these great, cool people that you get to see maybe only once a year. But then when you see them, it's like magic.
Yes.
So what percentage of your people are new that are coming in and they're doing this for the first time?
I ran the numbers a couple of years ago, and I'd say every year it's probably 30% new people
really?
And at least 70-80% returning.
Now, what kind of a finish rate are you getting from? I'm just curious.
Everybody finishes.
Yes,
everybody
finishes. Okay.
Everybody's super encouraging. And, Kevin, before we had talked about my trip to Disney and I said, well, that's not really my thing. Winter Challenge is my happy place. Definitely. This is kind of my jam. I love the farm. I love the feel. I love the people. It's something that I think everybody should try or at least put it on your list of races that you're going to do at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. I love things like this, and like Jed was saying, and this is the perfect thing for a documentary.
It is.
It absolutely
it
is.
really is.
Telling this story, and yeah,
be one coming. As a matter of fact,
I think Jed is ready to sign up too. So I'm going to be bringing the crew here with me. I think they're convinced because the whole time we're listening to you, I'm just sitting here smiling, and I'm like, I cannot wait till February 24th. I am ready to train just for this race.
Well, see, and I actually have a little farm pond on our family. See, it's you're speaking my language when we talk about that. I make the banjo comment, but that's like where I grew up. I mean, it's same kind of thing. But I would prefer to actually get a kayak and start and actually train. Things like this, I look at things like this as you want to respect them enough to actually prepare for them and go and not, for lack of a better term, make a mockery out of I want to, if I'm do this, which I think it is something I would like to do.
I know somebody who could teach you to paddle really well.
Yeah, paddle really well. I got a lot of paddling in school.
It can replace your swim workouts.
Well, I don't really need to. Being the world's greatest swimmer, I don't know if I need to be practicing swimming.
I expected the negotiations to start right away.
Me too.
There's clearly a story there that I need to hear.
Just come to the pool with me one day and you'll know the story. You'll see everything you need to see.
Yeah.
Well, so how do people, if people are thinking about doing this, what would you say? I mean, it's like we talk on this podcast like, hey, if you're going to sign up for your first Ironman or first triathlon or getting prepared for a marathon, what do you need to do? What would you say to people that are listening to this that are like, oh, that's something interesting I would like to do, and they're probably thinking,
learn to paddle.
Yeah,
learn to paddle.
Yeah,
I mean, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
You could walk the run course. You could mosey through the bike course. But damn if I'd get in that kayak without having some idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But people do it. But people do it every year. I mean, there are definitely people who they're like, I've never paddled a kayak, and I'm like, oh boy,
I can feel my shoulders burning right now.
We've got this Nature Adventures, this outfit out of Charleston, and they come up every single year, and they bring rental kayaks. So there's a ton of people, and they probably bring 15, 20 kayaks a year.
So you can rent a kayak. You don't even have to carry it. I mean, like the first couple times I brought my kayak to this race, it was just, oh my gosh, trying to learn how to tie the kayak on the car. I had to borrow my father's truck. It was just a disaster. Now I have a system, no problem.
Yep. But I guess my point was that, a lot of people show up on the day of the race having never even been in a kayak.
Yes.
Period.
Yes. So Kevin is like, I don't want to be that person.
No.
Yeah. I mean, you can be, and you're going to have a great time. You will have an absolute blast. If you are completely out of shape and you've never kayaked before in your life, you will have as good a time as anybody on that race course. But it is going to be 6 hours of absolute racing bliss.
Nice. I understand that
racing
language.
Bliss.
Yeah.
Michael, is there
Which
anything
is code
else
for pure hardship?
No, Kevin's debating it. He is over there. He's ready to sign up. Jed already checked out all the pictures. I mean, I think we're all coming.
I'm going down. Seriously, the documentary's happening.
Is there anything else we need to know about this this racing bliss?
I would just say, we've got the website. The sign up portal is a little different now than it used to be, but you can access all of it through our website at winterchallenge.net. But the best place, if you want to look for pictures or, see the good times in action, then go to the Facebook page. We get a little bit on our Instagram, but it's much better, just because for 20 years we've been posting it all on Facebook.
Right.
But the camping, let me reiterate that if there's one thing that I want to make sure to nail down, it is people come and camp all weekend. They show up at noon on Friday, and a lot of them don't leave till midday on Sunday.
That's going to be me this year. I'm in it.
It is such a good time. People bring campers, people will bring tents, whatever. But, it is rustic, but, between the bonfires and the party atmosphere, I mean, we've had, and Katie Malone can attest, we've had people out, hanging out at the bonfire till 1 a.m. and then getting up and racing the next day.
Hold on. That was not Katie Malone. Just want to put that out there. Katie Malone was not there for that.
I'm just saying that that it happens.
Oh, yes, I know it happens.
That, people are, it is just, and I probably shouldn't, hammer home the party atmosphere quite as hard as I am, because I don't want it to sound bad. But
it's fun. It's fun.
It's fun. Good time.
Yeah, it sounds like
come to the Winter Challenge. And, I say it, and Katie knows this, that, I get up and give the pre-race speech every year, and I get up there, and one of the key points is you are not going to score any points for Kona. This is not a Kona qualifying race. You are not going to qualify for the Boston Marathon. You are not going to go anywhere based on your performance today. Get that out of your head. So please go out there and have a good time. Go out there and have an absolute blast. Kick ass and, enjoy the scenery and go as fast as you want or as slow as you want. But, have a good time and, watch out for your fellow racers. Watch out for your fellow people who are out there and maybe they're struggling and maybe you need to give them some motivation, or, you see somebody with a flat, stop and help them. Don't leave anybody hanging. And, again, that is the vibe here is, you're not out because, you're winning some huge purse at the end of it. You're doing it because you're part of the Winter Challenge family and you're here for the good time.
Well, we will be there. I think I'm bringing more people with me this year. So, and I'm going to have some kayak training for the athletes that I coach, so that we all show up, in top form.
That's awesome. Oh yeah, and our registration's up already this year compared to the last couple of years.
That marketing.
So I'm very, very excited about that. Yeah, so we just need to get the word. The more people, the better. We sold out a couple of years there in a row, and I think then COVID hit and it slowed down a bit. But we're getting back to our best form here.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're probably on vacation and out at the farm hanging out today. And here we are,
literally walking into the woods to go deer hunting right
okay.
now.
Well, you go. Well, thank you. Thank you for just explaining this all to us. I will put links to everything that needs, so people can find the race. But good luck today. And thanks again, and we will see you in just a few weeks.
Yeah, at the farm.
At the farm.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Can't wait to have all y'all.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
So,
are you sold?
I am sold. It is I don't think this is the year.
What?
I don't think
I do.
Well, I don't. Well, I would say.
Why not?
I got to think about that, but I've got some.
Oh, sorry.
And in the next podcast, we're going to talk about our 5-year things.
Yes,
and
of course.
what we got. But I have a huge thing on my calendar this year.
You do?
That I am going to hammer out, and I don't know if be honest with you, it is something I would like to go experience, but I would like to be prepared for in the kayak. I'd be able to go out and I don't think I'm going to go compete for the belt buckle to win, but I would like to go and make a good show. And it's the same thing as with my Ironman this year. I don't want it. It's okay just to finish.
It is.
But my goal is not to go and just finish and limp across the line of the Ironman. I want to go and I want to make a really good showing for myself in that. And I don't think, we're in January, and I don't think by the end of February. Well, I could, but I don't think I'm going to invest the time in trying to learn how to kayak when I have these other things that I'm working towards this year. So
okay,
yeah,
I'll take that. But you going to come for the party?
May come for the party, yeah. And me and Jed may come down
coming
there for the barbecue and the documentary.
I'm going to be at your house the morning of the 23rd when you're tying your kayak down.
Sweet.
To film some B-roll footage, and then I'll be at the party, and then I'll be at the race, because
awesome.
Kevin's right. This is a documentary waiting to happen.
That's right.
All right.
So
those are our plans.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And so we will we'll get everything out there. All the information will be in the show notes, and we'll share all that with you. And he's a perfect example of our motto here, the way we end the podcast. Do hard things today. Tomorrow will take care of itself.